Coming up this week, making rally racing more climate-friendly in Italy.
Oh my goodness, this thing absolutely goes. It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good fun.
From Macy's Thanksgiving Parade in New York to the Kendall Mountain Festival in England's Lake District, our very own global guide to what's coming up. And 3 adventurers, 1 old banger, and a frozen Siberian lake.
It's 6:15. The sun will be down in 15 minutes. And we are in the middle of nowhere. It's not the best situation.
Hello and welcome to the Travel Show, back on the road again, and this week coming to you from the beautiful Italian island of Sardinia. Well, you've probably heard of the Monaco Grand Prix, the Indy 500, even the Dakar Rally. Well, this year Sardinia is playing host to a brand new series on the international motor racing scene, and this one comes with a bit of a difference. It's on a mission to save the planet. This is Extreme E, a series of all-electric off-road races, and it's all in the name of protecting the environment. This is the first season, and so far they've been to Saudi Arabia, Senegal, Greenland, and now they're here in Sardinia. Motor racing and saving the environment don't usually go hand in hand, so I'm intrigued to find out exactly how it all works.
Look at this thing, it's a beast.
It is. It's it's very kind of new age, kind of like racing on Mars here. All of the environments that we're racing in, so the car definitely matches that, and it's got to be big and strong to deal with it as well.
So should we get on the track and have a little look?
Yeah, we'll have a go.
Traditionally, rally cars are huge gas guzzlers, consuming even more fuel than their F1 counterparts, a massive 50 litres per 100 kilometres.
Wish me luck.
And although this championship has a carbon footprint, Extreme E is committed to being carbon neutral by the end of its first season through offsetting its emissions.
Off we go! Right, we're ready.
Oh my goodness, this thing absolutely goes. It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good fun. It's fun being behind the wheel, and I'm not sure what it's like being a passenger.
Oh, far better than living behind that wheel. You would not want to be in the car. So what's it like for you driving one of these big, fast, crazy electric vehicles?
It's very different to what I'm used to. So it's not that noisy. You don't have manic gear changes. It's kind of like driving an automatic on a really rough track really quickly. So, I mean, you do get really sweaty. It's adrenaline filled, and it is really intense in the car, especially with the tracks that we have. They're not easy. There's bumps, jumps. There's really a lot of heart in your mouth moments. So it is full on, but I think the experience of it is it feels like a race car, and it's enjoyable to drive when it's going right and you're sliding on the gravel. It's a really cool feeling. I think the next generation of motorsport will be exciting because you still have the battles, you still have the excitement and the proper racing. It's just obviously a lot more sustainable.
Because I think of racing and I think, it's kind of big, it's quite sort of dirty and produces a lot of carbon, and this is the absolute opposite of that.
I think it's changing the way that we view motorsport. Which normally we go to a racetrack and we race there and then we're to the hotel, whereas this championship we'll be working with the scientists a lot closer and learning stuff that I've never learnt before.
As part of its commitment to fighting climate change, Extreme E runs local environmental projects before every race, where even the drivers get stuck in to help.
And I was really into science at school, so this is it feels like going on holiday before a race when we come and learn. I think actually this one that we're doing here in Sardinia is going to be really fun. We're going to be getting wet, putting some wetsuits on, and we're going to be going and learning about the seagrass and how I actually didn't realise how kind of much of an effect it has on the environment.
Katie and the other drivers are taking part in a project in southern Sardinia that plants seagrass. The racers will then share what they've learnt on social media to try and spread knowledge about this important climate change strategy.
Well, it's a bit different to the coral reefs I've snorkeled before. It's not quite as scenic, but it's pretty amazing to think that that stuff waving down there could be one of the keys to combating climate change.
Like underwater lungs, seagrass is incredibly efficient at capturing carbon. It absorbs 10% of the ocean's carbon each year, despite only taking up 0.2% of the sea floor.
Extreme E is the first sport that's been set up for the purpose of tackling climate change. And we use these fantastic men and women drivers to educate people in terms of what's going on.
So you've got a whole world to choose from. How do you narrow down to the key locations?
So first of all, we look at the symptoms of climate change. So we look at desertification, we look at rising sea levels, melting of the ice caps, melting of glaciers, and of course deforestation, which has that double impact that deforestation actually speeds up climate change. So we look at those 5 sort of locations, and then we look around the world and we see where the stories can be told in the best way possible, where we have the best relationships, where the challenges, I suppose, are the biggest, and where the racing is great as well. So it's that balance between real, authentic, great sports and also communicating a really, really challenging issue.
The teams were actually meant to be racing in the Amazon as part of the original plan, but due to COVID, they've had to postpone that to next year. It's a big operation, but moored up not too far from the race site is the St. Helena, their mobile paddock which ferries all the equipment and cars to where they need to be. They say it cuts 2/3 of their carbon emissions.
I wasn't quite sure what to expect from this event, but it's got the speed, the dust, the excitement. But listen, no crowds and no throbbing petrol engines.
Most live sports rely on spectator crowds, but Extreme E is taking the opposite approach. To reduce the environmental impact on the remote race locations, fans have to instead keep up with the action online. Despite all of this, I still had some questions about the sport's green credentials.
How do you reconcile that, making it a green event when there's so much travel involved?
So the real change will only happen in the real world. Ideally, nobody would do any emissions, but even if you stay in bed, you emit carbon, you breathe, The thing is, the positive effect needs to be bigger than the footprint that you have. But if you want to make change happen, you have to do stuff. What we do is, of course, we reduce the maximum the emissions that we have. For example, we produce our power with hydrogen.
Tell me, why pair an eco message with motorsport racing in particular?
What we want to do is use motorsport, which is very, very, has a big audience, to kind of break the bubble. The environmentalists, the people who are interested in environment and they watch documentaries, they already know what's going on. But the sport fans, you have a lot more of those and may not necessarily know. So we put 15 minutes of racing, 5 minutes of message from one of our scientists on the location explaining what's going on with the ice cap, what's going on with the rainforest, what's going on with the wildfires here in Sardinia. So that's how we use sport to amplify the message of the environment. I would love to have been able to convey a message, to give so much information about the climate change, to also promote climate action in people that otherwise wouldn't have known what's going on in those locations.
It's not a spectator sport, but you can catch it live on your TV at home, and you can even participate by helping your favourite driver get into pole position on final day. You just head online and cast your vote. I'm going to vote for Katie, obviously.
Katie and the Andretti team didn't win this event, but there's still one more to go this season. Next stop, Tierra del Fuego in South America.
Well, if that looked pretty exciting but isn't quite what you're looking for on holiday, there are plenty of other ways to enjoy Sardinia. Here's our travel show guide to getting the best out of the island.
Cagliari is the island's capital, where you'll arrive if you come by air or sea from the mainland. It's an ancient city, so the many historical sites are a big attraction. The winding streets of Castello, the medieval old town, are worth exploring, with the 13th century Cathedral of Santa Maria being a particular highlight. Sardinia's beaches are famous for their white sands and crystal clear waters. You'll need to rent a car to see some of the best. Brandinci Beach in the north is popular with snorkelers and surrounded by pine woods. If you're staying in Cagliari, Chia Beach is worth a visit. And if you're lucky, you may spot pink flamingos at the nearby lagoon. If driving isn't your thing, you might want to consider the historic Trenino Verde, or Green Train. Some parts of the preserved railway have been in operation non-stop for the past 130 years. There are 4 different trips you can take, each one specialising in a different type of landscape. From the high altitudes of the Gallura Mountains to the vineyards of Planagia. And every February, the west coast city of Oristano hosts Sarsatiglia, a horsemanship festival held annually since 1546. Up to 120 people dressed in full regalia attempt to catch a star-shaped token with a sword or spear. The festivities last for 2 days, but be sure to arrive early because with thousands of people turning out to see the fun, the streets get seriously packed. Well, do stay with us because we'll be sticking with the driving theme by heading to Siberia to check in with the team who we've been following as they take on the mighty frozen Lake Baikal in an old Soviet-era car.
The starter doesn't work. Okay. Phew, bleh.
So don't go away. The annual Macy's Thanksgiving Parade is back with a bang, this year celebrating its 95th anniversary. After a muted, audience-free march last year, spectators will once again be able to line the central Manhattan route to cheer on over 8,000 marchers and celebrate the beginning of America's holiday season, as they've done for nearly a century. This year's parade kicks off at 9 a.m. on the 25th of November and will feature 15 floating character balloons, 28 spectacular floats, 36 novelty inflatables, 10 marching bands, 9 performance groups, and of course, not forgetting Santa Claus himself. Oh, and if you have a fear of clowns, you might want to stay away as there will be over 800 of them in attendance. You'll be able to watch the parade from designated spots, and for now at least, proof of vaccination will not be required. If Thanksgiving isn't for you, then you could always fire up the festive spirit within by visiting one of Europe's largest Christmas markets in Austria's charming capital city, Vienna. From the 12th of November, markets will pop up throughout Vienna's prettiest squares, transforming the city into a magical Christmas wonderland straight out of a fairy tale. Expect crisp winter air, candles almost everywhere, steaming mugs of hot wine, and the smell of roasted chestnuts, all with the atmospheric backdrop of Vienna's Baroque architecture. If you prefer climbing trees to decorating them, then you might just want to get yourself down to England's Lake District for the Kendal Mountain Festival. This 4-day-long festival kicks off this weekend. It's an annual event dedicated to sharing awe-inspiring stories from the world of outdoor adventure. Situated in the picturesque town of Kendal in Cumbria, the festival started 40 years ago and welcomes the world's top athletes and explorers to share stories on stage, alongside a jam-packed film program that brings to life the spirit of adventure. For the largest winter event in the Netherlands, head to Zwolle. Running for over 3 months from the 18th of December to the 6th of March, the Dutch Ice Sculpture Festival draws the best ice artists from all over the world to work in a 1,200-metre square cold hall with 550,000 kilos of ice and snow. The theme this year is What a Wonderful World, turning the last 18 months of turmoil into appreciation for the beauty of the planet. Artists will use this theme to create sculptures up to 6 metres high. Light, sound design and special effects will conjure up quite a spectacle for visitors who can view the show with a warming toddy from the ice bar. Well, hopefully you found something there to tempt you. But right now, we're heading to Russia to meet a team who's racing across Siberia in a car that, well, quite frankly, has seen better days. Last week, we met 3 Lithuanian adventurers, Karolis, Jurgis and Max, as they hit the road in an old Soviet banger, driving 1,000 kilometres with their support vehicle across the frozen surface of Lake Baikal in Russia. It's one of the world's largest lakes, holding 1/5 of the planet's fresh surface water. We catch up with them towards the end of their first day on the ice.
Oh man, this was crazy.
You did it.
Yeah.
We made about 70 keys today.
Я сказал, что мы напишем.
We got a room, but no heating.
We arrived 10 to 7 or something like that. Not to drive on the ice in the darkness worked perfect as and actually our rule.
First day on the ice on the frozen Baikal, and actually I was surprised by the babushka and that feeling when you in -13 on the cabrio on the Baikal. It's something. It's something.
Ah, babushka, babushka.
Starter doesn't work. Okay.
Фу, блядь. Давай. Да, если так. So I think we can ride just
So
like
the
this.
engine is actually fixed.
Yes, but it's loose.
Okay.
So I think we slowly we can drive as it is.
Еще, обгоняй.
We're a bit stuck in the middle of nowhere. We got a fresh crack and trying to pass it for 1.5 hours already, but still no luck.
Sometimes they call it as a mother crack, and it goes from south to north. So what is happening now, maybe 10 kilometers backwards along the shore, and then to turn left to be somewhere, I don't know, like 30 kilometers minimum, maybe 40 kilometers. But as far as I can see right now, is the same, no end. So how to get out of here? No way to turn back.
This crack is huge. We are trying to go around it for last 1 hour, and sun, you can see how low sun is.
It's 6:15. The sun will be down in 15 minutes, and we are in the middle of nowhere. It's not the best situation because, as we spoke before, we shouldn't be riding at night time, especially on the ice. but we are doing this basically tonight.
No, fingers crossed we are not doing this tonight, sir.
Nearly 1 hour in the dark. Car doesn't start. We have to push to start it. And that bloody crack is still here. But for the last half an hour, 3 times stuck, moving extremely slowly. Probably we can put the tent on top of the car and try to overnight. If we could pass it here, then in theory we could go still to our village, but it's I don't know how far from the shore we are. I believe around 30 kilometers, maybe 40. So finally we found a place where we cut out 3-meter piece of the crack ice, and now I have to jump it through.
Thankfully, it looks like Karolis and crew won't have to spend the night on the ice. Join us next week to see if their luck holds out as they near the end of their epic journey. Well, that's all we've got time for this week, but do join us for next week's show when, as Dubai opens the world's tallest Ferris wheel, we'll be taking a look at the mother of all big wheels, the London Eye, which celebrated its 20th birthday last year. Plus, we'll see how a British food classic goes down on a tropical Japanese island over 6,000 miles away.
Here's your fish and chips.
I hope you can join us for that and a whole lot more next time. But in the meanwhile, you can check out our adventures on social media. For now, from me, Crystal Larwood, and the rest of the Travel Show team here in Sardinia, it's goodbye.